Hi everyone, welcome to Train Forever. I'm Andrew Barr, and today I'm talking about push-ups versus bench press, specifically which one is better for building muscle. Both are great exercises, and both can be very useful in building muscle. But to understand why one might be better than the other, we need to have a solid understanding of how the body builds muscle. So let's start with that. Muscle building is also called hypertrophy. Hypertrophy means that the body makes existing muscle fibers bigger, not that it creates new muscle fibers. For the body to make muscles grow, two things have to happen. First, you need a stimulus or a reason for the body to need to build new muscle in the first place. The second thing you need is fuel to drive that process. That fuel is food. The stimulus for muscle growth is a workout. For the body to build muscle, the three training variables that we're interested in are load or tension, metabolic stress, and muscle damage. Tension is achieved by either lifting really heavy or by lifting slightly less heavy, slowly, or for many, many reps, which creates more time under tension. Metabolic stress is created when a muscle works really, really hard. Basically, this hard work results in the accumulation of a lot of different metabolites, which puts the muscle under stress, and that stress can stimulate adaptation. One of those adaptations that can occur is muscle growth. Muscle damage can be created by doing eccentric training, where the emphasis is placed on the lowering phase of the movement rather than the lifting phase, or it can be created by doing high numbers of repetitions in your working sets. There is a lot of overlap between these three variables. Generally, you don't only put a muscle under tension or only create muscle damage. Most hard training will create some combination of the three. If you're finding this content useful and informative, go ahead and give me a like and make sure you hit subscribe so you never miss another training tip. I'll be putting out a new video each week to help you get the most out of your training sessions. Thanks so much. I really appreciate your support. This brings us back to the exercises that are the main focus of this video, the bench press and the push-up. Either one of these exercises can be used to create some combination of tension, stress, and damage that can stimulate growth. To understand which one of these choices might be best, we need to consider factors unique to the person exercising and also understand a few things unique to the muscles that we're training in these exercises. The prime mover in the bench press and the push-up, the muscle that does the majority of the work, is the pectoralis major, or simply put, the pec. The pec is a big muscle, and the thing about big muscles is that they tend to do best when they are subjected to high amounts of force, which is achieved by lifting lots of weight, like what we are going to experience in the bench press, particularly as compared to the push-up. Now, this is a clear advantage for the bench press, but it's not that simple. Nothing is more counterproductive to your progress than an injury. And a common source of weight room injuries, even though they are fairly rare, but a common source of weight room injuries can be either poor bench press technique or overemphasizing the bench press in your upper body strength training. And as a function of that, having some motor dysfunction through the shoulder complex by not developing movement skill literacy in other movements that train the upper body, like the push-up. And to understand this, we need to know a little bit about shoulder biomechanics. For most upper body strength training exercises, or most upper body movement, we want the shoulder blade to move freely on the rib cage. The bench press is an exception. There's nothing wrong with locking the shoulder blades back in place to create that stable shelf from which to press, as we do in the bench press. But if that's how you train your upper body, you're going to lose that ability to move your shoulder blade freely when you're doing rows, presses, or any kind of reaching task. And that's going to create dysfunction, and it's going to put too much stress on the front of your shoulder, and you're just so much more likely to encounter things like bicep tendon strains, impingement, other overuse injuries. So one of the best ways to work against this is to use bench press as part of a more balanced upper body training routine that includes other exercises like the push-up, where the shoulder blades do move freely as you descend and ascend. In a vacuum, bench press is better than push-ups for building up the pecs because the pecs respond very well to high forces, and we will experience higher forces in the bench than we will in the push-up, right? but it's not just about those high forces and that peak tension. The stress and damage components matter too. And the sweet spot for those three ingredients in the context of the bench press is probably somewhere in that 5 to 10 rep zone. So yes, go heavy in your bench press, but not so heavy that you need to work down in that 1 to 5 rep zone, because that's more of a strength approach, which is great. It's just different than a muscle building approach. Bearing this in mind, if your current max number of reps of push-ups is 10 or less, well, then it stands to reason that the amount of force that you're experiencing in the pecs with whatever weight you're lifting on the bench is going to be pretty similar than what you're experiencing in the push-up. So if you can't do 10 push-ups with excellent, pristine, flawless technique, start there. Build up your push-up ability and the associated motor skill abilities, like being able to move your shoulder blades freely before you start to master the bench press. And even if you're really good at push-ups, and let's say you can do 50 without too much difficulty, and you're also a capable bench presser, I would encourage you to include both exercises, because even though bench press has that big advantage of being able to subject the pecs to those high levels of forces, the pecs will still respond well to the stress and damage that you can achieve in the higher rep work in the push-up. So it's not just about shoulder health and training longevity. If we're really just focused on stimulating the pecs for growth, both exercises have an important role to play. And I do want to acknowledge that, of course, I know that other muscles are involved in both movements, but usually when we're talking about bench press and push-ups and upper body growth, we're usually interested in the pecs. I've never had a consultation with somebody who told me that their goal was they wanted giant anterior delts. So the answer to the question, which exercise is better for building muscle? It's the bench press, but not by a lot. And for both reasons related to shoulder health, training longevity, movement skill competency, but also optimizing that hypertrophy stimulus, taking advantage of the various physiological things that go into making a muscle grow. Both exercises, the bench press and the push-up, make a great addition to your program. I hope you thought today's video was useful, and if you did, please give me a like and make sure you hit subscribe so you never miss another training tip. And if you head to the description, you can get my free guide to core strength. You can get information on my training programs and my online coaching. And if you're interested in a personalized program made just for you to help you achieve your goals, you can contact me directly about my online coaching. I put my email in the description. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next week.